Dear participants, dear organizers, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for the invitation to Splendid Vienna. However, to my regret, I could not join you today in person due to urgently family matters. I would like to thank you for enabling me to address such an important subject. Thanks to technology, I can direct my speech to you, hoping that it could address majority of your concerns. In case you need further explanation, please do send your request to my email address. If current trends in the decline of European defense capabilities are not halted and reversed, future US political leaders, those for whom the Cold War was not the formative experience that is what for me, may not consider the return of America's investment in NATO worth the cost, warned Robert Gates, a former UN Defense Secretary. According to Gates, Europe's failures of political will and the widening gaps in defense funding might encourage the American leaders to abandon NATO and stop guaranteeing the security to Europe. He criticized Europe for its complacency over international security and predicts a NATO being consigned to military irrelevance in a dim, if not dismal, future unless US allies change their attitude. Many of the top-level officials in the EU administration not only agree with former US Defense Secretary, but also are they of opinion that changes shall be done not only with respect to EU-NATO cooperation, but also to strengthen CSDP. European Union shall search for synergies with CSDP to enable optimization of these members' budgets. Also, as Secretary General of NATO shared with us during the last Security and Defense Subcommittee meeting, there is a strong need to improve the cooperation and explore the possibilities in cooperation initiatives, pooling and sharing, and smart defense. It is my intention that aforementioned concerns shall be addressed in the report of the impact of the financial crisis on the defense sector in the EU member states, being prepared within the framework of the Security and Defense Subcommittee in the European Parliament. The financial crisis is a global phenomenon that has hit all of the market sectors, including the defense. Especially among the EU member states, there is a tendency to cut the defense budgets. It is true that keeping the expenditure on a high level during the times of austerity is not an easy task. However, the security and defense area must not be neglected in such a turbulent period. As presented in the report of the European Parliament, there are several ways to optimize our expenditure. Firstly, better coordination of defense planning. EU members shall conduct systematic security and defense reviews according to common criteria and common timetable. That will allow the member states to consider the bigger picture before they take key strategic decisions on their defense capabilities. At the same time, European Defence Agency, EDA, could examine how to improve coordination of defense planning in Europe that shall lead to harmonization of operational needs and better implementation. Secondly, promoting and implementing the idea of pooling and sharing of capabilities. This is necessary nowadays. Done by the member states, identification of the most promising projects in the field of strategic transportation, logistical support, maintenance, space capabilities, medical support, education can provide EU with great profit from pooling and sharing. These areas will assure that there will be no significant dependencies created and therefore limitation of EU members' sovereign decision-making will be avoided. The pooling and sharing can save us in the future from currently observed capability gaps in areas such as air-to-air refueling, maritime surveillance, UAVs, CBRN protection, countering EIDs, satellite communication, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, sensors and platforms, and combat and information systems. Another important issue addressed in the report is the support for defense research and technological development. Research and technology has always been one of the factors that decide de facto on how a country or allies are strong. Countries in EU with the combined defense budget among 200 billion euro spend in average only 1% of it on research and technological development. Sadly, potential of economies of scale from collaborative projects remains largely unused, with about 85% of research and technology expenditure still spent nationally. Therefore, I hope that EDA, using its coordinative and planning competences, can change this state of play. One day, EU, with improved interoperability, can reach greater homogeneity among the equipment and capabilities of the national armed forces. Research is the first phase of any equipment program. The dual-use technologies are more and more popular, therefore we cannot ignore the importance of increasing complementaries and synergies between European defense and civilian security research programs. We shall also focus on promotion of the best projects and avoidance of duplication as our first steps to financial optimization. Building a European defense technological and industrial base is the next subject that I addressed in the report of the European Parliament. The need to progress in the consolidation of the European defense technological and industrial base is obvious, especially now, during the difficult times when none of the EU member states can create sustainable defense industry on a strictly national basis. We have to take under consideration the possible unemployment as a consequence of restructuring abandonment of some non-viable national industrial capacities. I'm of opinion that EU funding, such as the European Social Fund and European Globalization Adjustment Fund, can be efficiently used to support aforementioned adaptations. Under none circumstances, the security of supply can be put at risk. Last but not least, level playing field within the European defense equipment market and taking account of the interest of small and medium enterprises absolutely need to be granted. In the latter part of the report, I focused on the issues of establishing a European defense equipment market. No doubt, as much as we are all willing to increase the competitiveness of the European defense industry, we also guard the interests of the taxpayer. Therefore, all EU countries must urgently improve the transparency and openness of their defense markets. The instrument aimed to address the needs, the Directive 2009/81 EC on defense and sensitive security procurement, was to be transposed till 21st of August 2011. I hope that thanks to the report, the EU members will increase their activities in the field of absolute top importance, the fight against corruption in defense procurement. This can save us from inflated costs, acquisition of unnecessary, inadequate or non-optimal equipment, obstruction to joint procurement and collaborative programs, and hindering market opening. Another issue of fundamental importance is the standardization of the defense equipment for the establishment of a single European defense market, as well as for ensuring interoperability and facilitating cooperation on armaments programs, pooling and sharing projects, etc. I'm of opinion that European Defence Agency, the Commission and the European Standards Organization, in close cooperation with the industry and the NATO standardization system, shall increase passive work on reducing divergence in standards in defence and security industries and between the civilian and military equipment. This will allow us to use our resources more broadly and effectively. With the response to the adoption of the new multi-annual financial framework, there shall be the new possibilities for the EU states to use EU budget for achieving the goals of the common security and defence policy in a more cost-efficient way. The reinforcement and extension of security research under the Research Framework Programme is necessary. In particular, cooperation in education and training for military and civil personnel, Military Erasmus, European Security and Defence College, increase the budget of the EDA, possible extension of the Athena mechanism shall be treated with importance even in such difficult times. My intention was to recognize this issue, most important for the defense sector, which had arisen because of the recession. I hope that it will enable to look at the financial crisis from a new perspective, recognizing it as a chance, not only as a danger. Time will show to what extent and how fast ideas presented in the report will be adopted. Following prominent European politicians and experts, as well as former US Defense Secretary Robert Gates, I allow myself to ask High Representative, Vice President, the Council, the Commission and the Parliament of the EU Member States not to take their time in standing together in the name of one of the basic needs, a need of security. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that my presentation was explained most important issues. Once again, I would like to encourage you to send questions to my email address. Thank you very much.